Hello, and welcome to week 4 of Social Work 636, Organization and Program Development. So in week 4, our objectives, readings, and media are as follows. The objectives are to describe the components of a budget, to analyze the cost of service delivery, and to describe the purposes and methods of program evaluation. Readings for this week include the following. One is a review of Chapter 13 on managing agency finances, which was already assigned for reading. Another is reading the Kaufman reading, which is a chapter called Measuring the Impact of University Civic Engagement, Model Components and Methods. The interesting thing about this article is it really speaks to the need to develop your program evaluation before you begin your program. And it talks about the fact that although we intuitively believe that civic engagement, service learning, outreach, those various activities that partner the university with the community, that they have a beneficial impact, the article speaks to the fact that there has not been a lot of research to actually measure that impact. And that ideally what we should be looking at, what exists before the program, the baseline, then implementing the program, and then looking at outcomes. So this is a model for how to do that, and a model for how Widener has begun to look at its various programs and then to measure those impact issues. But the first task is to figure out how many programs actually exist and get a good definition, because often civic engagement, service learning, outreach are often talked about as though they were the same thing, and they are very different aspects of reaching out to the community. So that's a good chapter to read, especially as it pertains to Widener University. The McNamara Basic Guide to Program Evaluation is a website. It has a lot of good information. So the link gets you to the website, and it gives good definitions in addition to a lot of information about 3 different kinds of program evaluation. One being goal or objective based, and I would prefer to call it objective based since goals are hard to measure. So these are what you hope your program will achieve. Process is how well does the program work. So for example, does it take too long from intake to service delivery? Or do people complain a lot about waiting lists in the process? So what is working, not working in a program? Then outcomes based, what impact did you hope that your program would achieve? And that is also noted in your logic model. So for our activities for the week, this week is on budgeting and program evaluation. So for our activities, first is the week 4 discussion. And for the week 4 discussion, see if we can get this all in view. It's only going to show part of it. You're now going to be working on part 2 of your program funding proposal. And so for part 2, you are going to be looking at the template. And the template includes doing a budget and also doing a budget narrative. And remember, with budgeting, there are many ways to do a budget. And so in this case, you are just looking at your program expenses. And this budget is requiring you to list the costs of the program, and then how much of that cost are you seeking from your grant. It could, in theory, be 100%. I would say to you that grant funders are looking at programs that have multiple funding sources. So in this column, you are looking at the total cost for your program. Here you're looking at how much you want to come from the grant. This line item is for in-kind. And in-kind are non-cash items that contribute to your program. So this could be non-cash goods, non-cash services, labor like volunteers. This is non-cash, but you're required in your budget to convert it to cash. So how much is your volunteer labor work? How much are donated items from a Salvation Army worth? And so you will put that information here. You have to convert it to cash. Some grants require in-kind match. Some grants do not. And we can go over that more. And if that's a question that occurs when you try to do this budget, we will try to clarify. The other thing you're required to do is do a budget narrative. So if above you say that you're hiring, your total staffing is $20,000, and that is 3 staff at $10,000, and you are writing that $30,000 or $20,000 is 3 staff equals 3 staff. So this is where you explain all your costs from above. If you're giving your employees fringe benefits, and basically you are providing the employer part of Social Security, the employer part of Medicare, workman's comp. So usually whatever your salaries are at a basic amount, you're adding about 14%. But if you're going to be giving them healthcare benefits, then you're going to add those costs in here as well, and you'll explain them below. Are you having meetings? Do they have to go to those meetings? You put all those costs here, and then you explain all of them in the bottom. And again, this column, the first column is your total cost. The second column would be how much you're requesting from the grant. You are going to do your initial post, and then the people that are assigned to you in your groups will do the follow-up post by Sunday. So the initial post is due by Thursday. The follow-up post is due by Sunday. The other assignment is with the feedback that you will receive this week on part 1 of your proposal. You will now be uploading that final revised part 1 of your proposal here. And then I will take a look at that proposal. So again, take a look at chapter 13, because we did go over the kinds of budgeting and getting donations, how you're going to fund your program. It could be donations, it could be grants, or it could be fundraising events. So where are you going to get the money to operate your program, to look at income and operating expenses and program expenses. And often in a budget, we do this as is the template here in a line item. Most of your budget is usually salaries and benefits, so that's overwhelmingly your budget cost. And if you have questions after doing the reading and starting on the assignment, please email me as quickly as possible. And hopefully with the feedback that you will receive from week 3 for your part 1 proposal, you'll be able to complete your assignment and move on to the funding of your proposal and doing your program evaluation. So again, any questions, email me as quickly as possible, and I look forward to reading your assignments this week. Thank you.